Trinity Sunday, the 7th of June, was the hottest day of a heatwave that had gripped the country since the previous week. Matt, as usual, had attended the 5:30 a.m. Mass in Gardner Street and went to Holy Communion with the men of his sodality at 8 a.m. After Mass, he returned to Rutland Street to have his usual meagre breakfast. One of his neighbours noticed that he looked poorly and advised him to take a little rest. Matt admitted that he was feeling a little weak, but a half an hour later, Matt came down again. He smiled at the neighbour, said he felt all right and was going on to the 10 a.m. Mass in Dominic Street. He always hurried to Mass. Turning into Granby Lane, a shortcut to the church, he stumbled and collapsed. Passers-by came to his aid. People coming from the earlier Mass in Dominic Street Church called for a priest. If Matt had known that morning what was going to happen, he would not have worn the chains. Little did he realise that they would be the way in which God would reveal the hidden aspects of his life of holiness to the world. Following his death, word of his holiness began to spread. Matt's good friend Ralph O'Callaghan asked Sir Joseph Glynn if he would write a story about the life of Matt Talbot. The first short biography, written by Sir Joseph Glynn in 1926, sold in excess of 120,000 copies on the first publication. Later, Joseph Glynn would write the first book on Matt Talbot, called Life of Matt Talbot, published in 1928. The story of Matt Talbot, a poor worker who had been born in a Dublin tenement, poorly educated, who often wore second-hand clothes, who died in a laneway and was buried in a pauper's grave, inspired the hearts of the nation and eventually the world. Such was the demand from the faithful that in 1931 Archbishop Edward J. Byrne of Dublin opened the informative process for the beatification of Matt Talbot. In 1949, as part of the normal process towards beatification, the second inquiry began, and on the 29th of June 1952, the remains of the servant of God were exhumed and removed from the grave where he had been buried to a vault in the central circle of Glasnevin beneath the O'Connell Monument. One of those present had been an altar boy in St. Joseph's Church, Berkeley Road, where Matt used to pray. He was the President of Ireland, the late Sean T. O'Kelly. In 1972, Matt's remains were once again removed, this time to be placed in a purpose-built shrine of Wicklow granite in the Church of Our Lady of Lourdes, Sean McDermott Street, the parish in which Matt had lived at 18 Upper Rutland Street. On the 3rd of October 1975, Matt was declared venerable by Pope Paul VI. Matt sets before us a radical example which demonstrates that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. His life is a witness to the fact that people can, by God's grace and their own self-acceptance, say no to that which leads to addiction or addictive behaviours. What we need today are ordinary people who, against extraordinary odds, do the right thing, like saying no to addiction or compulsion. Matt Talbot understood this, and he would say to others, "If I can do it, so can you with the grace of God." Matt's example has inspired many institutions, movements and individuals around the world, giving hope of recovery to those who are willing to accept their weakness and need. Such people stand as beacons in our world to the truth that we can overcome addiction, rise above our weakness and achieve great things, even sainthood. At this time, when so many of our communities are affected by the scourge of alcohol and substance misuse, God has chosen Matt to set before us a model of temperance and a source of strength and support to all who suffer from addiction or addictive behaviours. Christ told his followers, "You therefore must be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect." When Matt found sobriety through prayer, his desire for drink was replaced by a desire for Christian perfection.